and I could have my tea parties with my angels, and I could get lost in there, and I could just fall asleep in there. And I thought everybody did that until I grew up a little bit and realized, kids were calling me crazy, and I was saying things that I shouldn't have known based on human logic. During those years of knowing you're spiritually gifted, you want friends. You don't want to be called the crazy one, and you don't want to be lost, traveling, astral projecting, and the whole 9 yards. So spiritual warfare, psychic attack is very real, and it comes at us at different ways, at different times. But it will always be during that pivot that you are embracing the next level of your mastery. And when we feel it, it may come through our dreams, it may come through another, and we may see it within ourselves. I try very hard not to say darker and black, because there's light energy that is not of God. There's light energy that is evil. And it may come in someone that looks exactly like you.
For questions, comments, and to show your support, visit us on the web at afroempath.com. Peace.
How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I feel wonderful. Thank you.
Not a problem. So, I saw on your Facebook post that you're an ENFJ.
Yeah.
What? All right. So apparently,
I saw that. That's right.
Yeah. I looked into that whole thing, the whole INFP, INFJ, ENFJ thing, whatever, and I realized, oh wow, you know what? I can use this to try and get people from Facebook to join my group. They might not realize that they're empaths and have gifts yet. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. But if I used the word term empath. I did all the INFJ, INFP, ENFJ, and then I did highly sensitive people. And it's been, and just because the way the Facebook group search works, it's been helping to gather a mass of just the most beautiful, pure-hearted people,
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good stuff. Put yourself out there, and they will come.
Yeah. So I'm trying to hopefully at some point in the next couple of months here, we're looking to do like hopefully an annual type retreat, of just like empath and things like that. I think it'd be cool. Just for I've never physically met another empath that has known they're an empath. So it'd be cool, So that's
awesome.
That's my next thing. Yeah.
Wow, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
I would certainly like to look into that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll be posting more. I'll be posting more on Facebook soon here. But yeah, I mean, basically, what I'm looking to do is just have it healers healing healers. You know what I'm trying to say? Because we go around and heal people. These people are therapists, nurses, doctors, teachers. Like energy healers, massage therapists. So these we as a people, as a class of people, are always healing everybody else. I was like, well, who heals us? Who knows our pains? You know what I'm trying to say? So I was like, we got to have some kind of annual get together where we can, come in an ego-free space that's about us healing each other. So, and especially us as Black people healing each other, it's going to be empowering, because that's work that we're doing to, heal a lot of the generational trauma that's in our DNA.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. We need it so much.
We do.
And the spiritual industry is very whitewashed.
Oh, I can imagine. This right here is kind of like I'm assuming this is kind of like a prelude to the podcast. You just kind of want to feel me out type deal, right?
Yeah, we could get started whenever I'm just a lover of the discussion.
Okay, cool. Well, all right. Well, we can. I'm recording, but I wasn't going to share it if you didn't want to have it shared. I'm just saying because.
Oh no! Everything I say is I'm pretty open.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about that, because you've been in this. I'll just call it a game, even though it's not really. You've been in this whole spiritual world a lot longer than I have. You know what I'm trying to say? Putting yourself out there, right? I'm not sure when you created your YouTube channel. When was that?
I created the YouTube channel in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I've been out of the spiritual closet all my life, professionally about 2000, um, and going forward. So it's been a journey.
Okay. Now this is me getting into my interviewer mode here. If you would, I want to know your early childhood when you're just the little chocolate drop named Necole. Like,
Oh, I love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
When did your spiritual gifts begin to manifest? And is this something that's generational within your family line?
We know that it's sixth generational so far. We know that based on documentation, but we presume and feel as spiritual seers and bridges, and empaths and channels, intuits, that it goes far above and beyond. We know that we have been denied that right to embrace our spiritual gifts, and we know that through the enslavement process.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of my childhood, I thought that everybody saw angels and spirits, and I just felt comfortable that way. On Saturday mornings, I could go outside when I was 5. We lived in upstate New York, and I was always watched. We were very guarded growing up, but there was a thicket of thorn bushes, and I could go right in the middle of them and have my tea parties with my angels, and I could get lost in there, and I could just fall asleep in there. And I thought everybody did that
Mm-hmm.
until I grew up a little bit further along and realized, kids were calling me crazy, and I was seeing things that I shouldn't have known based on human logic, because what was discussed was in their home the night before. So I learned quite quickly to be quiet and to not say what was on my heart and soul to say.
How old were you during this time?
This was, I was doing this at 6.
Mm-hmm.
So at 6, I, was like, wow, I couldn't understand, being crazy and being called crazy. Because again, we were very guarded and sheltered. But when I was about 9, the big kids at the after school program said I could hang with them. And this is upstate New York, so this was a part of the Underground Railroad, big Catholic church. And I didn't know it about anything other than this place had so many corridors you could get lost in it, a lot of artifacts. Well, the kids found a Ouija board, so definitely go get Necole. And I didn't know why they were coming to get me, but at that time, Amityville Horror and Children of the Corn and all that stuff was on TV, and The Exorcist. We didn't watch that in our house, and I would see that anyway. So when a trailer would come on, I would wonder, why in the world is this on TV when they see this kind of stuff all the time? I didn't realize people were not seeing those energies in manifested form.
Mm-hmm.
So we went into this room. There were no doors. We put a little blanket over the doorway, and they found a Ouija board. So we went and had a flashlight, and the little thing started moving. And I looked to my right and saw a little girl, a young girl, about preteen, and she was wearing a long beige skirt and had a hair wrap, and I recognized her to be part of the time of enslavement. And I didn't say anything because I learned don't say a word. And I just waited for someone to acknowledge her. They didn't. They asked her, she stated her presence on the Ouija board, and I could see her move it. So they asked her if she wanted to enter anyone's body. By that time, she moved to my left, and she faced me. And I freaked completely out because the little thing, the peg, went to me, and she was facing me. And that was the first time I realized there are energies that are not quite the same and have a very assertive presence. And so I ran out of there. I told my daycare worker, and he was very aware. He was very spiritually aware. And I just remember him talking to my mother when she showed up, and he promised he would never mention it to anybody, and he didn't. And that just was the first time I realized, okay, I am different. And what do I do with this?
So going back to that, when that girl in the beige dress, like, what do you mean by her energy was assertive? Like, what do you, like, give me the feeling that you felt when did she try to enter your body? What happened there?
She had the intent of ready. She was of readiness. She was ready to enter my body. And if I gave her permission, but it was very clear that she was waiting because they asked her that question. And I'm wondering, why would they do that? Why would someone want to enter someone's body?
Yeah.
And so when she turned to face me as a child, that was a violation. I was all about stranger danger at that time.
Yeah.
And even though no one, we didn't discuss seeing spirits or angels or anything like that, I knew that wasn't okay. That was, my personal space.
Yeah.
So that really scared me because I didn't know who I could talk to, and they were acting like they didn't see her.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very uncomfortable feeling, but it was a very frightening experience because I needed to feel safe. And even though she didn't feel aggressive at all, she just felt very eager. I want to try it out, kind of an energy. Excuse me. So it wasn't any scariness when I look back at it in hindsight as an adult. It was very, respectful. Respectful. She wasn't going to enter me without permission.
Gotcha.
So that was very, very clear.
But that was your first experience then, kind of like with, well, that's your first experience with the Ouija board type deal, but and kind of the serious nature of it all. Because before it was been kind of lighthearted, you were saying, yeah, with angels and things like that.
It really was. There was a time that I recently began to share because I realized many of our spiritual superstars have been abused and have been really just not treated well as children. Mm-hmm. And so some of the discussions we have in our membership, it gets kind of personal. And so I did share that there was a man who, when I was about 5, right before we moved and to the place that had the thorn bushes, so I was about 4.5, 5, who came in the house after me, and my brother was supposed to be watching me, my older brother, and I could just hear the door slam, and I was pushed down, and I just remember with my face to the carpet calling out for my angels, and I could see my angels right in front of me with my face to the carpet. I could still see them, and suddenly I felt nothing. I felt the whole weight of his body just leave. And as soon as I turned back in enough time to see him fly back and hit the wall, and he looked at me like he saw a ghost. A few years later, and he ran out of the house. My brother came running in. What happened? What happened? I didn't see where you were. I didn't know you came inside. What happened? A few years later, we were at the grocery store, and I saw that man. And we turned around the corner from the aisle, and he looked at me, and he ran out of the store. And I never said anything. I just remember that like it was yesterday. I know that it was my angels. I can't say why they saved me and why they didn't save anyone else. But I can say that I know that was the work of my angels, my spirit guides. Yeah.
I've heard similar stories of, my ex-girlfriend, she was in a subway station and there was some man that was trying to grab her hand very aggressively to try and basically kidnap her. And for whatever reason, whatever force, I guess it was angels, made her face really, really scary to that man, and it basically, I guess it like transfigured her face for him, and he got freaked out and he just ran, So
Oh,
yeah, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And how does that make, how'd that make you feel? I mean, sharing that, cause I know you must, that must make you kind of feel conflicted because again, you're in a group of, probably largely women that have had these experiences, and you're thinking, if I share this, what would they think about, why weren't they protected or something like that, or what?
That's a great question to ask, and I really appreciate that, Louis, for giving me the opportunity to share that. You know, as a coach, one of one of my roles is to be transparent and make that space between my client and I safe. So I want everybody to feel safe no matter what, and to feel like wherever I am, it's a non-judgmental zone. And sharing is more than caring. Sharing is just true empathy, compassion. And I always believe that a true leader is able to wear that hat and be vulnerable, you know,
Mm-hmm.
submit to that energy of whatever is needed at that time. So we've been so blessed. Our community has just been very transparent and very open. And as the host to our spiritual superstars, I just go on with that energy because I'm also healing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's very therapeutic for everybody. And it allows me the ability to say, hey, your spiritual guidance is the way that God, divine source, the universe reaches out to you. And it's unlike anybody else. It'll be the way you can receive it. And you do have angels, you do have spirit guides, and you have a whole spiritual team, including our ancestors, to look out for you. And I don't know what the answer is
Mm-hmm.
to why you were hurt. I don't know. But I do know that you have the right to say when and how you forgive. And you have the right to get angry. And some of, you know, our spiritual superstars and some people that I don't even know have been wronged by adults, by ego,
Mm-hmm.
fear-based energy, you know. So we do a lot of that healing through just offering spiritual guidance. And so, yeah.
Gotcha. All right. If you would, I want to kind of, go back now to, you know, not necessarily when you're a child, but just your household, like these gifts, the whole angels and the tea parties and things like that you left off with, like the fact that you realized that this whole Ouija board and spirit realm thing can have not necessarily a dark side to it, but a side that can maybe compromise you, you know? And so it began to be a little more serious. Now, you said that your daycare teacher never told your parents what happened, but how did your, you know, like I'm not sure if you have a mother and a father, but like how was your family life like when these gifts began to manifest? Like did you become a black sheep of the family or what? Like what was that like growing up, you know, as yourself within your family?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for that question. Tony, the daycare worker, did tell my mom, and my stepfather, he raised us since I was before I could walk. He helped me walk. My biological father was always in the picture. So we grew up having two dads, really, and a great life, you know. But I was more comfortable with my spiritual gifts. My mother was aware that she is spiritually gifted. In her generation and the generation before, it wasn't okay to talk about spiritual gifts. It is a lot more open of a discussion now, and especially since this is what I do for a living and I help other people master their spiritual gifts. But my mother, growing up, it was nothing to see her getting a massage or listening to a meditation album or anything like that. So we were very aware of this vibrancy that exists. We've always been known. that we are the soul within our human. So growing up like that was different because it was very hard for me not to say, well, why would you just say that about me? When the person didn't say it out loud, but I would hear them say it internally as I heard the message come from them. So in high school and even junior high, even elementary was very difficult. But I believe that because of my gifts, I was very popular because I was able to kind of weed through who I needed to not be around and what I needed to do. And so during those moments of predicting and saying what I knew to be true or what I would hear God tell me to say, and having the deer in the headlights look on my friends or on teachers and all of that was very difficult because I was still trying to find my identity. You know, during those years of knowing you're spiritually gifted, you want friends. You don't want to be called the crazy one,
Yeah.
and you don't want to be lost, traveling, astral projecting, and the whole 9 yards. There was one teacher that was amazing. I had her for, I think, fourth and fifth grade. And this is one of those times that you just never forget. She moved me, once I got to fifth grade, she moved me to sit closer to the windows because we called it daydreaming, you know? And so she allowed me to do that because she knew that I was just gone. But what I would see out in the playground were everybody would be out there playing and they would be calling for me to come down there, and it was nothing for me to get up and go over to the window and start talking to them. And she would have to call me back.
What?
And by that moment, I would have to be, it would be so embarrassing because, you know, the rest of the class is like, you're so weird.
How were you this time here? That would be weird.
It was very weird. It was very uncomfortable. I was in the fifth grade.
Okay.
So I was around 10, about 10 years old. So, you know, it's something that as you grow up, you want to stop it. You want to be able to say, I don't want this. So I went through that age for quite a while of not wanting it and saying, you know, Lord, why did you do this to me? No one else is saying this kind of stuff. No one else is seeing this stuff. No one else has this charge of, I have to tell people that they're either someone's going to pass, someone is going to get hurt, or something is going to happen. Or I have to tell them that they're pregnant and they don't want me to know, or they don't plan on keeping the baby. There's been so much that has happened. I predicted all of my nieces and nephews being born. And I have also seen people passing and that have. So it's a big charge. It's very emotionally charged for me because I'm raising spiritually gifted children.
Mm-hmm.
So being out here is a big deal. And like you, I waited for years before I could get on a platform because I have children, because I want to safeguard them as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's a big deal for me. But I also know that when we're gifted and aware, then, you know, that's answering a call. And everybody's spiritually gifted. Spiritual gifts are in every sacred text there is. So when we are aware and we ignore it, we're saying no, and we're showing the opposite of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something I'm willing to do, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I want to ask you this because, you know, I can only imagine that if you are, again, seeing pregnancies or sensing pregnancies in people that don't necessarily want you to know, and they may have the intention of aborting it, and you're seeing people, you know that people are going to pass. Like, For you, was there like an emotional taxation? And if so, how did you handle that as the person receiving all these insights?
It is extremely draining, and I can tell you that I'm the first one to say that I've gotten angry with God multiple times. It's very hard to say something that comes to me in knowing out of obedience that I'm saying this with 100% accuracy and without any doubt that this is what I'm to say. And because I see it, and have a professor look at me like she just saw a ghost, and me realize by the look on her face that, oh, Necole, why are you doing this? And I felt like I was doing it to myself. And then it was a matter of, okay, why am I gifted this way? And to tell people then that are trying to conceive that, okay, congratulations, because I know that you're concerned about that and it's going to happen in a couple of weeks. So I just wanted to say congratulations now. Or are you going to figure out what you're going to have? And they're like, what? Figure out what? About the baby. And they're like, we're not pregnant. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I know you're trying, and have you taken a test yet? And they're like, who are you? Or something like that. I've done that at get-togethers, and so it's a blessing either way, but it's a straight blessing when to receive it and people say, oh my gosh, how did you know? We just took a test, or, yes, this is what we've been wanting. Are you sure? And oh my gosh, how could you see that? And so my professor, when I told her, that was the turning point. And she stayed away from me, and it was very uncomfortable because we still had a couple months left together in the class.
Mm-hmm.
And she found me on campus and told me, I don't know if you saw my face, but how did you know I was pregnant? Because we just left the doctor's office that morning and we hadn't told anybody. And I told her, you know what? The only thing I could say is this is what I do. And this is part of the gift that I have. And I'm so sorry, and it wasn't a matter of me being nosy or anything. And she was like, no, I'm just stunned. And she said, you took me off guard so much that I just didn't really know what to say to you. And I said, I just apologize. No, she was like, there's no need to apologize, but in that instance, you really don't know what to say. I just say, but I've told people that have miscarried that day, and that's when I realized I have to listen further, and I have to deepen that gift and deepen my mastery and my leadership and exercise that, so that's what I did.
Mm-hmm. I mean, no matter how you want to kind of master your gift, when it comes to delivering it, I mean, how can you even use tact? You know what I'm trying to say? We're like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like you're telling some people some deep personal things that are sometimes very morose,
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, what is tactful in that situation? You know what I'm trying to say? And versus what is your responsibility? How do you balance that?
Yeah. The tact comes in saying exactly what divine source tells me to say.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. In that moment, I am removed from my human. And that's it. And so when I receive that reaction, my human is protecting me. My human, I believe our human is our knight. And our human faces that reaction and that interaction between other humans.
Mm-hmm.
So she really stands up and feels that fear, feels that fight or flight reaction very quickly and wants to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to, in that moment, say, it's okay. Jennifer is my human. My name is Jennifer Necole Livingston. Jennifer is my human. And I have to tell her, Jennifer, it's okay, because we had to do what we have to do. And that's all I can say is that I'm so sorry, but please allow me to just tell you that you will have a baby. You know, it will happen, but this is what needed to happen first. And I'll be able to tell them confirmation of what they've already received, of what needs to happen before they try to conceive again. So there's always that beautiful message, whether they can receive it or not at that moment, and I just deliver it. And then I have to really check myself, because it is a very high and heavy charge. You know, when death is concerned, it is excruciatingly painful. It is very painful, and there's really nothing. I really can't contribute it to anything. All I can say is that people that are spiritually gifted are gifted in those ways for a reason. And so my charge was to teach the masses, all of humanity, how to master their gifts and how to use them to enjoy their life, to earn a living, and to be okay with it. So, you know, you spoke earlier about the different professions that people are in as empaths and healers. And so, absolutely, as a medical doctor, one of my clients, she teaches a few of her colleagues in fireside how to ground themselves and how to still be in the ER as empaths and do their job, but not absorb the patient's energy and the atmosphere and all of that. So, you know, after coaching with me, she's been able to help others through helping herself. So it's definitely, I feel very blessed. I'm enjoying my life. I feel on top of, you know, the world, being of service in this way. It's beautiful.
That's beautiful to hear. I'm just glad. I'm just like, just the visuals of somebody doing that, you know, of, you know, teaching other doctors how to stay grounded and things like that. That's cool. That's awesome. It's nice to see this whole spiritual thing come full circle, you know. One day I might be being operated on a patient that, you know, has been, you know, that has been guided by you, and operated on by a doctor that's been guided somehow through your work. You know what I'm trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say?
Wow, that would be, yeah.
You know, I'm just saying, that's cool. It's cool. It's just cool. Yeah. It's just cool just to see how, you know, because the work we do is very ethereal. You know what I'm trying to say? But, you know, it's needed, and, you know, and it can help us, you know, in our work life and things like that are to stay grounded, you know, especially if you are an empath. Now, let me ask you this: what do you like? What do you think you like? So what would you, if you were to like say, like, give me like a couple words to define you? Like, for me, I would call myself like an empath, maybe an alchemist, I guess a healer, I guess. But what would you say like your gifts are, if you could call them? You know, like what words would you use?
Sure. I'm a spiritual teacher. So I am very aware of my different clairs. I am aware of seeing energy in people and structures, looking outside. So being a spiritual bridge, also lost souls come to me. They come to my mother as well, but my mother is not as comfortable. But she has always helped cultivate my gift. And so when they come to her, she sends them to me, or she says, go straight to God. And so as a channel also of helping lost souls make it to the next level of their celestial station and be able to reach out to their loved ones and provide that message. So it is not just one thing that I can say. I'm a psychic because of the psychic premonitions that I have, and I'm a medium because of the messages that I receive. So I would say that I'm a spiritual teacher because of my level of mastery.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I was going to ask you what the role of those things is, but I guess being a spiritual teacher is kind of that role.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's something that you grow into, I believe. I believe that, you can be 6 years old and be a spiritual teacher. But I think that you do grow into that acceptance of it. I still struggle with my human. My human struggles with saying that I'm a shaman. And my human is very aligned with who I am and what our purpose is. But we still are part human, so it's a beautiful life, though. It's a beautiful life.
Oh, boy, I have so many things to ask you. I don't want to take up oh my God, boy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We gotta do this again.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna go ham here and just ask some good stuff here. Now let me ask you this here, because you going back to the whole Ouija board thing, like a part of what you do is you're trying to help souls leave the this plane, right? Generally, or spirits, whatever, right?
Some need help, understanding that it's time for them to leave. But some also are coming back because they've got a message, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So others are, helping their loved ones here and very embedded in that role. We also have our ancestors reaching out to us all the time. So having that help from the other side, which is the main reason we are to pray for them. And in fact, we're in the first dispensation required to pray for our ancestors as they pray for us, because we are empowered to break these generational curses. So yeah, that absolutely. But as we spoke earlier, the energy that is opposing God's will is very much aware. And so when someone is waking up to their warriorism and the fact that they're gifted, or waking up to just the fact that the Holy Spirit lives within them and is waking them up through a spiritual awakening to their untapped, unlimited potential, that opposing energy knows it. So you are going to be tested. And we can expect that to happen. So being very safe and being on guard and knowing, just as you spoke of, you have got to make sure you are protected through your space. So your diet, and if you're having sex, who is in your company, what energy are you around? How are you rearranging things in your home? Are you, collecting energy through things you're bringing into your home? What is in your space? How are you serving in your spiritual practice? What is your practice like? All the above, but also paying very close attention to our dreams, those epiphanies, those deja vus, those synchronicities, and understanding that if you thought you just saw or felt or heard or received communication from energy, you did. And needing to tell your human to stand down and check your human and saying, I've got this. This is something that our human doesn't know. You know that as an alchemist, that our human is all fear-based human logic, which is the total opposite of spiritual alchemy.
Yeah.
So, so some of us just have to have that training and coaching to understand really the key to self-mastery is understanding that we are the soul within our human. And we've got to talk to our human, and let him or her know, hey, all right, this is what's going on. This is not your fight.
Yeah.
This is not your fight. This is spiritual, and I'm going to handle it.
All right, I want to get to some heavier topics here now, since I got you here. This is one that I kind of saw on your channel, but I would like to hear from you speak about it as well. Like there is a darker aspect of this whole metaphysical and occult worlds, right? So as generally speaking, you're trying to, not all the time, but for the most part, you're trying to help souls and spirits ascend and enlighten the vibration of this world, right? And bring it higher. There are also people that are trying to, bring in darker energies into themselves, through Ouija boards and things like that. No?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So I'm saying that, that I think that is a part of this whole thing that can kind of scare people from this whole world period. You know what I'm trying to say? Because it's not just light and love and light and all that. There is a dark aspect to this, and there are people that are harnessing, I guess would you call it disembodied spirits, to come into their vessel to gain certain power in this realm. Would you not agree, or would you disagree?
That's very true.
So I want to talk about spiritual warfare here, if you wouldn't mind. Like if you wouldn't mind, if you feel comfortable with it. Like have you had anybody in either in a physical form or or in non-physical form come at you as maybe your gifts begin to come online, or just as you begin to come out, begin to strengthen your presence in this world?
Well, I'm glad that you are open to that discussion. Mm-hmm. Because this is something that people deal with, and it freaks them out into isolation.
Yep.
Right? So spiritual warfare, psychic attack is very real, and it comes at us at different ways, at different times. But it will always be during that pivot that you are embracing the next level of your mastery. And when we feel it, it may come through our dreams. It may come through another that we love. It may come through a stranger. And we may see it within ourselves. Meaning, I call it, first of all, I should say, I try very hard not to say darker and black and all of that, because black magic is a term that was created to make our ancestors seem evil. For being spiritual and for doing things such as just having the roadmap out of slavery within our braids and our hair and things of that nature. But spirituals come from that enslavement time frame. And so spirituality is in our roots, and it's a beautiful thing. However, we've always been very aware that there's evil energy. So it's really evil magic. And it's really ungodly, the opposite of, because there's light energy that is not of God. There's light energy that is evil. Mm-hmm. So having that, people really have to understand that, and knowing that it may come in someone that looks exactly like you. For example, when I went to college the first time, it was at a HBS CU, and my mother met me at the dorm room. I just got done the whole day in 105-degree weather registering. She said, Necole, you're not going to want to stay here. Go get your room changed. I said, no, are you crazy? I'm not going anywhere. I'm 18. You can't tell me.
I'm independent.
Yes.
Get out of here, Mom.
So I said no. And she stayed an extra week. That's how very serious she was. When she left, that's when everything hit the fan. The roommate was an African-American young lady, and I began to have difficulty waking up. I had out-of-body experiences that I didn't ask for. I would see myself on the bed sleeping from the angle of the room where I would be in the corner of my side of the room. And she would be staring at me, laughing, looking at me laying in the bed. There were times that I would feel and see and hear demonic images, voices, gnashing of teeth, scratches, the whole 9 yards, while in the sleep state, and falling off cliffs, running and was unable to get away from whatever was chasing me, to wake up to her staring right at me, laughing. I would ask her, did you see me trying to wake up? Yes. Why didn't you wake me up? Because I thought it was funny. Okay, this is not normal. This is not okay. And I began to fail. And this is the first time I was failing anything. And didn't want to do anything but sleep. So I was literally zoning out of life. And when my friends came in one day and I see myself on the bed, I finally said, well, if I can't do anything else about this, I can try to get away from her in the room. So I positioned my bed so that it was perpendicular as far away as possible. And they came in and looked at me, they looked at her, and I'm sitting, well, not sitting, but I'm in the corner of the room shouting, please don't leave me in here. Please don't leave. And I'm calling my girlfriend's name, and they asked her, how long has she been asleep? And she told them something, and they said, well, just tell her that we came by. And they left.
And was this in a dream state, or is this actually physically happening? I don't get it.
This is in a dream state.
Gotcha, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so she looked up at me while I was in the corner of the room. And I don't remember what I said at that moment. I just remember falling. And when I woke up, I ran out of the room. And I ran into my friends on campus, and I said, why did you leave me in there? Didn't you hear me calling you? And they were like, how did you even know we were in there? If, why were you acting like you were asleep? And I'm like, I wasn't. And this was such a scary, feeling that I said, okay, I went and got my room changed. They didn't even question me. And the only room that was open was right across the hall. The dorm was so small you could touch both sides with your hand. But as soon as I moved into the room across the hall, everything stopped. Now, mind you, I was taking this home. I would be punched literally in my sleep. I could jump up off the bed because in my sleep state, I would fall off a cliff, feel like been hit by a Mack truck. And I'd wake up bouncing off of the bed. So when I went home on break, it's the same thing happened to me, and I would wake up feeling like someone just punched me in my jaw. I'd wake up to scratches, the whole everything. At that point, my mother knew she needed to make some phone calls. And that's the first time that I really understood that this is not okay, and this is not normal, but our family is spiritually gifted. If she's saying she needs to go make a phone call, and this goes way above and beyond what I was privy to. So at that point, I became a lot more privy to what our gifts are and what was documented. And so they said that, Necole, you have to ask her if she believes in God. And I said, I'm not asking her that. She's a, black girl like me. And of course she does. Why would I have to ask for that? That was unheard of for me, not to, for someone not to believe. And when that happened, I asked her, and she looked at me and laughed and said no. So that blew me away.
You couldn't even conceive of that at the time?
I couldn't even conceive of it.
Gotcha.
We were raised as, I was raised a Baha'i. a member of the Baha'i faith, and we were very aware of God. I mean, I was talking to my angels. I was very aware that, you know, God is my creator. I knew that there were manifestations of the Most High or messengers of God. But for anyone not to believe, I wasn't aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
We could visit different churches and all of that. But to conceive of someone not believing in the magic of life was impossible for me at that time.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. But then I understood through that moment, everything changed for me. And I began to develop my gifts even more and help people more openly. But as an empath, for example, my best friend was giving birth, and I knew she was, oh my goodness, I could feel myself going in labor. And so much so, I tried to get a hold of her, and it was at the time she was in labor on the way to the hospital. And I went into straight labor as she was giving birth. I felt the pains of giving birth, and I timed everything, my mother and I, and it was very synchronistic. So as an empath, I learned as I experienced these different things on how to master that experience and how to teach it so that people could know that, honey, this is not something that has to take you into isolation.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that you're blessed with, and this is what you do with it.
What do you do with that situation where you're feeling her labor pains? So what do you do with that?
You pray for her.
Mm-hmm.
You allow them to feel your energy,
mm-hmm.
because as a healer, you're healing through the power of transmutation.
Yeah.
With Hermetic principle.
Yes.
So also, so it is what a lot of the commercialization of spiritual industry really just kind of scratches the surface of being an energy healer. So you'll hear Reiki healer, you'll hear chakra realignment, and a lot of meditation. But what we do is application.
Yeah.
I heard you mention that earlier, and I think that is really so needed because, meditating is one thing, it's great, but then you need to have application to live in this fourth dimension we call life.
Mm-hmm.
Because of those negative energies and those evil energies that are absolutely roaming the earth. They're manifested as predators, as child abusers, as murderers. So knowing all of that is understanding, okay, as an empath, if this person is standing next to me and I could feel their energy faster than I can feel the fact that there's a human vessel standing near me, then there's a reason. So let me pay attention to what I'm hearing, feeling, seeing, and sometimes what I'm smelling. You can smell a foul energy on someone. You can smell sickness in someone. You can smell disease in someone or something.
I can't, but you can?
Oh, absolutely.
That's cool.
Clarifaction. It's a clair.
Yeah.
And,
I've heard of it, but I don't do it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so you might realize as you deepen your spiritual gifts, you might walk into it, you might grow into it and realize, I could smell Auntie.
I sure hope not.
Auntie,
I sure hope. I don't want to smell Auntie.
No, you don't want to do that?
I don't want to smell Auntie. No, I'm cool. I got enough.
You might smell like something that they're known for baking or something. Like I went to a meeting one day, and the woman had shared with me that her husband was sick before. And when we left the meeting, I said, oh my gosh, we walked in the hallway and I could immediately smell a bunch of cigar smoke. And the cigar smoke was really outlined in a very big, kind of a big way. It was a very tall energy that I could smell the smoke in, and I could feel his presence. Was a big guy. And so we're walking down the hallway, and I'm just like, I gotta say something. And I said, I hope you don't mind me asking, but is your husband okay? And she said, oh, he passed away last month. And I said, well, do you know he's standing right here? Did he smoke cigars a lot? And she said, oh, yeah. He visits me all the time. She said, yeah, he was a very avid cigar smoker. And I said, oh my gosh, he's so protective. And she said, oh yeah, she said the girls in the office think I'm crazy. And I said, well, let me just tell everybody that she is not crazy. And I had her back because, I've had enough of that, of being called crazy. And I know what that felt like. So, oh yeah.
Now, is it just like a little brief whiff, or is it like the whole room is filled with a cigar and you're smelling it like it's really there? Like, give me an example.
Yeah, it's like he's blowing it in my face, kind of a,
gotcha.
Presence. So yeah, and you'll also be able to smell like my aunt was like a second mother to me, and she passed, and before she passed, I could see the angel of death, and that is Archangel Azrael. There's nothing morbid or evil or anything ungodly about Archangel Azrael. I just saw him in the proverbial skeleton with a red cloak and all of that, and it freaked me out because I didn't know who he was here for. And at the same instant, I remember seeing such a beautiful, crystally diamondy bright light, and I called in Baha'u'llah, Christ Jesus, and Archangel Michael, and Serapis Bey. And immediately I felt safe enough to ask, okay, why did you come? And is my family and I okay? Am I okay? As a mother, you instantly, what's going on? So I was showing my aunt, and after talking to her for a couple of days, she finally admitted to me that the cancer had returned. So within that time, I was able to tell my mother, this is what's going on. And the doctor called me and said there's nothing we could do. It was pancreatic. And I bought my mom a ticket that day and flew her down there. And they were very, very close. So within the months that she was down there, before my aunt passed, my grandparents visited me 3 times in the same motion. And they were letting me know that they were waiting for her and to let her know it was okay. So I was letting my mother know this. So within this time, they've all known that I'm very okay with my spiritual gifts, and they know theirs, but that doesn't mean that they're okay with them. And we have to respect that, in people. Even if we know people are spiritually gifted, even if they let you know a little bit about it, they still deserve that respect of, let me tell you,
When they're ready.
So, yeah. So I've let my mother know, tell Auntie that they're waiting for her and that it's okay. So one day, Auntie came to me, and at that time she came to me, I could feel her presence, but I could smell baby Ruth. I could taste it and I could smell it. When you eat it, there you got that smell going in. And that's her favorite candy bar.
Okay, I thought you said, did you say Baby Ruth?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So there's an example of clarifaction.
Gotcha. I've actually had it. I think we all have little bits of the Claris, but some more present, some more present than others at different times. Like there was a time when my ex-girlfriend was sick, and she's my girlfriend at the time. I mean, I had just tremendous compassion for her. So I guess she had ate something and she had food poisoning, or maybe she was sick or something like that, or maybe a little bit of food poisoning. And I had took out the sickness within her and brought it into me. And I could taste I could like taste the vomit, just the grossness of whatever she was, she had taken in, and I kind of like sweated it out through my pores, So that would be an example of when I could smell it because it was in my my throat and my, like my, my whole nasal thing. So so I've had it before. I was like, wow, it's from one of the first times I realized. I was like, oh, I'm a healer,
Yes. And that's so deep because when you're a healer like that, you're not even thinking twice.
Yeah.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
So like when she told me, she said, Nikki, tell your mom that I'm ready. She had lost her ability to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And so she showed me, your mom, tell her I'm going to be okay. Tell her I'm okay. I'm ready. She showed how my mother was. So I told my mother, Mama, Auntie just came to me and are you ready to hear what she said? And she said, okay, I'm ready. And I said, well, that's what she said. She said, I see, she's showing me that you got your prayer book and you're on her left side of her bed and you're praying over her. And she wants you to stop worrying. And I just heard my mother break down because that's exactly what she was doing. And I said, okay, Mama, so she says she's ready. And my dear, who was my grandmother and granddaddy, are waiting for her and to receive her. And at that moment, my mother said, okay. And she said as soon as she hung up the phone, my aunt took her last breath. And so that type of message is uplifting, and it is, there's not a right word for it. It's like you're basking in air. You're basking in the most pure light of the divine. There's nothing that I can really put in human terms for that.
Mm-hmm.
So out of 9 sisters to say none of them could remember what Auntie's favorite color was so they could get the suit to bury her in, they asked me. And that was validation at that point. Even though I was grown at that point, it was humbling validation. Ask Nikki if she can ask Auntie, so because we can't remember. Well, Auntie came to me in the most beautiful turquoise, a turquoise that I've never ever seen before, a turquoise that you can never see in this 4th dimension. It just is impossible. And I told them, and she was dancing. She was the most beautiful angel. And I told her it's turquoise. And they just all cried. And they said, how could we forget that? And so when, you are gifted and you're in your purpose, such as it's that. It's that exhale. So if I can give anybody that exhale to be able to teach other people, that's what I want to do. Spirit told me, and Spirit for me is God.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit told me, you keep looking for what's not out there because you're not out there. I saw it for years. What do I do? Do I take a spiritual coaching class? Do I go to a school? Or what do? I don't see anybody that looks like me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that this industry existed. Mm-hmm. I've just been in my own bubble. And so I heard very clearly, I just always knew my spiritual guidance, but I never knew what to call it. And I never knew what to call awakening. I never knew what to call spiritual astral projecting. I didn't know lucid dreaming was a thing. I just thought that people were saying they didn't know how to do it because they didn't want to be seen as crazy like me. So when I heard that was a hand slap from God. You keep saying, you keep looking, and I'm telling you to get out there. You're not going to find someone that looks like you because you're not out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I opened up the YouTube channel and I said, I'm out here. I don't know what you want me to do, but I'm going to do it.
That must have been nerve-wracking for you. Oh my God, please walk me through that.
Oh gosh, Lewis,
Hmm.
it was absolutely insane. I went back to school um, to be a teacher because I said, I love corporate America. Couldn't do that anymore.
Hmm.
It drained my soul.
Yes, of course.
I made really good money, right? But oh my gosh. So I couldn't do it. They told me I couldn't write inspirational emails to my division. I couldn't bring God into the workplace. And
Yes.
I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So, right. So,
Your soul was not being filled.
oh,
So that's yeah. Go ahead.
it was horrible. So I took several years off. I just spent time being a mom. And I said, I got to do something. And, God, please show me. Please guide me. I always knew to say that. Please show me my spiritual guidance, the way that I can receive it. And if you show me that I need to do this, I'll do it. I'll be grateful. I won't look back. And I've always put that opposing side to it. And so I know I'm going to receive it. And soon as I prayed that, I gave that it's a dedication. You're gonna sacrifice something. One mother said, why don't you look into this college that's an hour away from her? And I said, what is that? She said, well, you pass through it every time you come see us. And I said, oh, I didn't even know that. So we looked into it. I fell in love. And they were like, we can't tell you that you're accepted or anything. I said, okay, well, I already know that this is where we're going to be. And so people would tell me, are you crazy? You got kids to take care of. You don't even know if they're going to accept you. I said, I do know. And that's the difference between knowing your spiritual guidance and not.
Mm-hmm.
So they accepted me. We went in the year that I was supposed to declare my major. I kept hearing, your classroom is not in a building. Your classroom is all of humanity. And I'm like, okay, all right. I know who that is. I know that, okay, but what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
How do I do this now? Are you serious? Was this a mistake that I made? And I went through the whole questioning and all right. So I have to go in deep communion and deepen and listen and then follow it. So that's what I did. And the steps were there, the synchronicities were there. And that day that I heard it very loud and clear, I said, all right. And because I questioned, why don't I see any black women? Why am I not seeing anybody that looks like me?
In this space, yeah.
Yeah. And that was really throwing me off. So I went in, I told my advisor, listen, I said, I cannot declare my major. And she said, why not? I said, because I don't know how you're going to take this, but I said, God is telling me that my classroom is all of humanity. I'm a spiritual teacher. And I don't know quite what that means yet, but I know that I can't teach in a classroom. And she looked at me, she got up, she closed her door, and she said, I knew it. I knew it. When I met you, you were different. She said, when you were all interviewing me, I couldn't take my eyes off of you. She said, your spirit is just unlike anybody else's. You got to do it. If there's anything I can do to help you, I'll do it. She fumbled to get her phone. She showed me a picture. She said, if they knew I showed this to you, they would have me out of here quicker than ever. She was the chairwoman of the Educational Studies Department. And she showed me a picture of her grandmother teaching her how to read poems. So it was beautiful.
Wow.
And just the transformation has been awesome. But yeah, people separated from me. People said, you're stupid. You're making a very big mistake. People in my family, my brother said, and my brother, one of my brothers who came to me before, can you just do that thing that you do and just ask if this is a good decision? Because we didn't know to call it reading. I never used Tarot. I never used Oracle. I didn't know what to do other than to call on God, call on and ask for help from my angels. And so now I use Tarot decks that I'm able to touch, and I've created my own as a visual, because as an educator, you know that there are many different learning styles, and you have to meet your students where they are, because they have different teaching styles.
Yeah.
So those divination tools are very important, but it was very hard because people were just like, "You're crazy." So my father, my biological father, who really was not okay with any of it growing up, he distanced himself from me, even though he was still in the picture. My mother was the one that really helped me throughout everything. But my father and my other family members have always used me for my gift. And I didn't see anything wrong with it until I began realizing, why don't you receive me then? Why are you judging me for the same gifts that you're using me for? So, for example, my biological father went back to jail, and that day I started getting the downloads that I was used to getting when something was happening, when someone was in trouble, when there was a message that I needed to deliver. So I learned a system that I would use, and once I realized, okay, this is my father, I heard, "Call your father." And I said, "I can't call him, because if I do, I look at the clock, he'll get in trouble." He was supposed to be at a halfway house, and it was like 11:03 p.m. 11 o'clock was the cutoff. And then I realized, oh, Nikki, who are you talking to? So I said, okay, I know that that's God. Let me go right to the phone and call. And something happened that never happened before. The woman of the halfway house answered the phone, and she sounded like an angel. At any other time, she sounded so hateful. And she said, "Oh no," she said, "honey, your father isn't here." And I said, "That's impossible. He has to be there, or he's back in jail." So he was back in jail, and I was able to call one of my brothers who was still living in New York to go to tell him, go downtown because Dad is back in jail. And he said, "Nikki, how do you know that? And how do you?" And he's, "Oh, well, wait a minute, never mind. I know how you know. Okay, you've always been crazy like that. So okay, I'll go down there." Yeah. So like your brother would say.
Yeah.
It's about as much love as I was going to get about that.
For real.
So he was, and my dad said, okay, well, he had prayed for God to show me because he knew about my gifts. And that was the first time that my father ever acknowledged my gifts. 2 years ago was the first time that my father admitted that he is aware of his clairs. And this is very big because I wasn't sure that any of my gifts came from my father's side. And for him to say that was major. And he's never mentioned anything about that. He was raised a Catholic, and he raised himself basically, a very tough life. And when I asked him, "Dad, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that with me, trusting me enough to say that." And I asked him why he never shared it with me before. Well, he had experienced spiritual warfare of a very deep kind, and the experience that he shared with me would have shaken anybody. So I completely understand that, and that is one of the main reasons I'm very big on, if you as an empath know that someone is gifted or they're going through something, that doesn't mean that we have the right to say it. Doesn't mean that we have to, call them on it, give them their space and time. And recently I had that discussion on one of our spiritual firesides in our membership because the empath wanted to, it was getting a message coming in and it was just all over her face to say something. And she started saying it and I had to cut her off and say, wait a minute, this is a safe zone. You know, so even though you may pick up on something, doesn't mean that this is the time or space to deliver that message, because we as empaths have a special gift, you know, and it is kind of being a little nosy and when we're not, when you mentioned earlier about tact, when we're not listening to, are we receiving this message for us or is it for the person? You know?
Yeah.
So that's one big thing that if I could say to anybody, to just remember that even though we're gifted, we still have to respect someone else's privacy.
Understood.
And I've got many stories to say, okay, yep, I'm the first one that blew that on many occasions. So, but yeah.
Live and learn.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Oh, we have to do this again.
Yeah.
It's such a pleasure.
Oh my goodness. I'm like, boy, I could just sit here and talk to you for the next 3 hours. But yeah, we'll you know, we can wrap it up here. But yeah, can you want to give out a place where people can find you? You know, I know you have different channels and things like that. Where can people contact you?
Sure. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Well, our online academy is spiritualguidanceacademy.com. And we're actually having a free live webinar tomorrow, which there'll be a replay about teaching people how to use their gifts, how to use their passion to really monetize it and to really go into business in your sole purpose. A lot of people have a block there because there's a stigma that says, well, we're spiritually gifted, you can't use that, you can't charge anybody for that, but it's something that you were gifted with. These are God-given gifts, and so is being a doctor, so is being able to educate people, or a construction worker, or a writer. So we go through all of that and help people really live in their mission, because you're already going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't not serve in your spiritual gift, but being able to monetize it and leverage it is, to me, that's showing supreme gratitude and appreciation that, okay, I was gifted this bag of gifts to help other people, so that's what I'm going to do in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got that going on. And we have spiritual guidance from Necole Livingston on YouTube. And can I give my spiritual superstars a shout out?
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you. Because they absolutely rock. They are the reason we are the #1 spiritual guidance channel. And we rank #4 on the top 60 spiritual channels on YouTube. And we surpassed Deepak Chopra. We surpassed Eckhart Tolle, the author of Power of Now. Yeah, so it was a really big deal, and I'm very proud of our spiritual superstars for that.
I'm proud of y'all too, realistically.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. You know, hearing your story, oh man, thank God, because you know what, we come from a long lineage, obviously, of spiritual work. You know, so it's time for us to, you know, come out of the shadows, and you have helped with that. So God bless you.
Oh, I received that. God bless you too. I look very forward to helping your mission. It is our mission.
Yeah.
And I look forward to doing this again.
All right, Necole, it's been a pleasure. Well, yeah, definitely have to speak again soon, all right?
All right.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
Oh, God, she is beautiful. So, I mean, what do you think about my mission statement, if you will?
with your podcast
Yep.
and about African. Okay. Um, I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. I think it's a superly. I think it's very empowering.
Hmm.
And as you can see, people, kind of flock to you because you opened yourself up, to be of service. That's a huge deal. That's really big, Louis, because not everybody is brave enough to live in their mission. And then when they realize that they have this mission, they're like, what do we do with it? Is there anybody else out there like you questioned, but then you sought, that was such a different step than what a lot of people are taking. And the fact that you're saying, well, I'm okay with healing people
Hmm.
through that way and actually serving as a warrior, which is an entirely different category. People are afraid of stepping into that realm and they're just waking up to the awakening process. A lot of people are still wondering what is going on with this spiritual awakening thing and what is this all about spiritual gifts.
Hmm.
So I really have so much respect and appreciation for your mission and putting it out there because it's not putting it out there, you're putting yourself out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.